So we just passed the 3-year mark of this pandemic. There's been a lot of death and destruction, a lot of suffering. But there have been some positive things that have come out of this pandemic. Let's talk about those. So the obvious one is mRNA vaccines. This was a technology that was slowly moving along, and then COVID came, and there was this massive boost of investment by governments, by pharmaceutical companies, and it was accelerated, and here we have now this amazing vaccine platform that's been very well proven, and as a result, we will likely see very successful mRNA vaccines for things like HIV, Zika virus, RSV, flu, and the list goes on. The other one is masks. Because we had to wear them, we got used to wearing them, and nothing bad happened. Kids wore masks, people wore masks all day, nobody dropped dead. And this is important because in a lot of Eastern cultures, in places like China, people were already wearing masks long before COVID, for example, during flu season, to help protect themselves and protect others around them. And even as we come out of this pandemic, hopefully some of that will stay. Hopefully when someone's sick, they'll be willing to wear a mask all day. And if you're in flu season, you're in a busy subway car, you might just want to wear a mask and feel comfortable doing that, and less people overall will get sick. We've also learned a lot about how viruses are transmitted. Before the pandemic, there was this dogma in medicine that some viruses are spread by droplets and others by aerosols. But what we've realized, and what we should have known all along, is that aerosols are just smaller droplets. So anything that's spread by droplet might also be spread by aerosol, and there is no magical cutoff there. And that's going to help us with understanding the spread of many other viruses and how to prevent that. The last one I want to talk about is long COVID. So this is this constellation of symptoms that about 15% of people will get after they have an acute COVID infection, and they'll have these symptoms for months and months and months. And one of those symptoms is brain fog, where you have difficulty concentrating, you have trouble with word finding, with memory, and a lot of those symptoms are similar to what's called chemo brain, or how you feel after getting chemo, and also similar to chronic fatigue syndrome, also known as myalgic encephalomyelitis. And it turns out that about half of the people out there who have long COVID also meet the diagnostic criteria for chronic fatigue syndrome. Now that in itself is horrible, but because there are so many people with long COVID, there's so much funding and research going into this that we are learning about things like chemo brain and chronic fatigue syndrome at the same time, and might have strategies now to help prevent those things and treat those things. And that's just a few examples. So yes, it's been a tough 3 years for everyone, but there are some silver linings.